Okay, good morning. Today's Tuesday, August 27th. This is a regular meeting of the Kings County Board of Supervisors. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Here.
Richard Valley.
Here.
Doug Verboon.
Here.
Rusty Robinson.
Here.
Richard Fagundes.
Here. All five are present. So at this time, we do invocation, and I'm going to ask if Bishop John Smith is here. And if the bishop is not here, we're going to go to Bishop Sheriff Robertson. Y'all please rise for the invocation.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you very much, Sheriff Dave Robinson. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, please bless these chambers this morning and the decision-making that takes place each and every Tuesday. And the board members who care deeply about our county, please bless them. The men and women in law enforcement, the men and women in uniform, the fire department, the dispatchers, everybody who puts on the badge every day and protects our community, please bless them. Especially bless this upcoming November election, where we hope people choose wisely and make great decisions on who they're casting their ballots for. And in Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Now, who's the president of the Sheriff Posse?
Anthony has to be to it.
Anthony, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Okay, at this time, we're going to go to employee recognition. And Curia, you have that. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Curia Martinez, CAO, Kings County. So this morning, we are actually going to start off with a presentation for our budget book cover. So we started this competition in 2019. It was a project to kind of get the employees involved in the cover of our annual budget book. So the winner gets selected. They go down in history. You know, we get there's rules involved. It has to be in Kings County. There's 3 categories that we select. One is best in agriculture, best historical building, and best landscape. And then we have an overall winner. The overall winner is the one who gets their photo on the budget book. Yesterday, we had budget hearings. So the winners that are selected today will have their photo printed on next month's budget book. So kind of showing you a little bit of the history. These are some of the budget covers that we had since 2019. It's been a real popular competition amongst employees. We start in the spring, we start asking for the photos, and then we do the final selection. So at this time, I want to present the winner for the best agricultural photo. So at this time, we have Crystal Calderon. This photo was taken on Flint Avenue by Quail Run Park in Hanford. Crystal, would you like to come down for your prize and certificate?
Come on down, Crystal.
Okay, and the next winner is for best historical building. So that is Dustin Beal. The Civic Park here in Hanford.
Good job, Dustin.
And then the next category is best landscape, and the winner is Kelly Luna. The location is in Hanford, Armona Road near 9th Avenue.
Kelly. You guys are all sitting together. You dropped something, Dustin. You guys are all sitting together. You all take pictures together too, or?
And then now we will announce the overall winner, and they get this real neat trophy. Matthew, next slide. There we go.
Chairman, can you step down into the well?
And the overall winner is, I don't know either, I just found out right now, is Crystal Calderon.
one of a kind, it guaranteed to be a family heirloom.
And if I can invite all the other winners to take a group photo. And then on the next slide, Matthew, so that's how the final budget book is going to look.
Hey.
You want to stand up behind him?
Yeah, you need this. Must have run out of film.
And 1, 2, and Kings County.
Good job.
So this is a 6th year for that?
2019.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool. I like
2019.
that.
Mhm.
As long as we got a balanced budget, it's even better.
Yes, and we also use the photos amongst like brochures, if any department asks for them for any kind of marketing. We also use all the photos that weren't selected as winners. So they're all used around throughout the year.
Very good. And we had probably 100 photos.
Mhm.
Very good.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was hard to pick them. We had this, this write down what you liked and hopefully it worked out. So I think we all agreed that that was the #1 photo right there. So thank you. Okay, next item was unscheduled appearances. Any person may direct the board at this time on any item on the agenda or any other item of interest to the public that is within subject matter jurisdiction of the board. 2 minutes are allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Catherine Venturella, Clerk to the Board of Supervisors. The board did receive 3 letters that will become part of the permanent record from Antonio and Juan Rodriguez, Tiffany Merberger, and Anna Ledesma. And my first group that will be speaking, the first person is Jim Henderson.
Morning, Jim. How are you?
Members of the board. My name is Jim Henderson, Building Maintenance Superintendent. We have Public Works has some staff making independent statements. Any statements on behalf of Public Works would come from Dominic Tyberski, but do want to state for the record that Dominic Tyberski and myself do support staff through their negotiations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Jacob Moretta.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. I am Jacob Moretta, and I'm here representing myself and my coworkers. Last week, I presented to this board my findings showing that there are discrepancies in the Coffin Associates study. I then proceeded to provide my own analysis of the senior maintenance worker's job to the other cities and counties conducted within that study. We were informed that our title as senior building maintenance worker is now to remain as is. My coworkers and I appreciate this action. We are here today to ask for action in regard to the 14% below average pay. We are aware that this can present a burden on this year's budget, but we also would like this board to consider different options to bring us up to the average salary for our current job title and duties. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer them. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Jacob.
The next group is Sheriff Dave Robinson and the Sheriff's Posse.
Morning, Sheriff.
Good morning again. Proud to be here this morning with the Kings County Sheriff's Posse, some of the representatives. I'll say a few words before the president has a few words that he'd like to say. Over the last 13 and a half years as your sheriff and working with the Sheriff's Posse, it's just a great group of people that care deeply about their community and really just want to, do the best they can to support the sheriff's office in different missions, but mostly, through the annual crab feed fundraiser where they donate money back to the sheriff's office for our different programs, canine programs, Explorer programs, airplane program, water rescue unit. And so it's an honor to be here this morning. They do have a check presentation, and so I won't take too much of the board's time because I want to give the president, Anthony Azevedo, a moment to say a few words. And then if the board will entertain us, we'll come into the well and take a picture afterwards. So thank you very much. Really
Very good.
appreciate it. Anthony?
Mr. Azevedo, it's all yours.
Thank you, Sheriff. I want to thank everybody, thank the supervisors for allowing us to be here. Thank Sheriff Robinson and the sheriffs that were here before him that have allowed the sheriff posse to continue and support our sheriff. Look forward, we're having a fundraiser in September 7th. And we at Burst Park, we've worked with the county on for the venue. And like I said, that's our major fundraiser to support our group. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. There are still a few tickets available. If anybody still needs tickets, you can reach out to one of the posse members or myself and we can get tickets. And I'll have the posse members come up now and we'll do a quick presentation of the check and a photo in front of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheriff, I'm gonna come down too. You all right?
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome.
One, sir.
I do.
So you guys like the rose parade and everything, we're King County on your panel. Perfect. You want to know, but not like the DC or retirement.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Good job. Hey, Gus, how you doing? Good to see you. How are you? Good.
Our next group are the citizens from the city of Corcoran. The first speaker is Natalie Sierra.
Natalie, come on down. I'd like to make a statement here for the sheriff's posse. So my grandfather, my great uncles were all in the posse and they've all since passed and they donated a sheriff's saddle and all that stuff to the Carnegie Museum. It went missing and our sheriff found it here about 6 months ago. It's on display in the museum over at the sheriff's office. So get time, go check it out. Thank you. Okay, Natalie, it's all yours.
Good morning, everybody that's present today. My name is Natalie Sierra, and I am from Corcoran. I am here today because I'm in the process of purchasing a home with DR Horton in the community of Corcoran. I'm here to present a significant issue that we have been having, which is I signed contract in August of 2023. And currently, it's August. And it's been a year of the contract, and we were told that we would receive keys March 2024. We haven't received anything. The communication between Horton, homebuyers, and many other families and PG&E has been horrible. The last time we actually heard from Horton was when several of our family members have been attending city council meeting and advising city council what's going on in Corcoran. They have been supportive with us, listening to us, asking PG&E to come back and forth, giving us notification. We haven't heard back from Horton, the Horton, for about tomorrow's the next board meeting. We haven't heard from them. The reason I'm here today, as many of you have probably seen on the news and so forth, I am the person that purchased an ADA home for my husband. It's a very touchy subject for me, but it's harder to have to tell my husband every day, one more month and we'll get the keys. I paid up front for the ADA to have it installed for my husband. And may not care, but I do. And I'm here today to advocate for my husband, for my family, because we deserve that home. We have worked really hard every day. We own a business in Corcoran. I work for the Corcoran district office, and I'm proud to live in Corcoran, and I want to continue to live in Corcoran. But I want my home that we purchased for my husband, the ADA home. I'm here with a lot of families couldn't make it out today because of the notice, but I'm here to ask PG&E and DR Horton, wherever they're at here, please help us get our home, move faster, power us up, because we deserve to have our home that everybody has worked so hard. We deserve to have the communication that they're not giving us. We continue to reach out to them. The answers are still unknown till this day. The last time we met with them, they said 6 to 3 years. How does that feel? Some of us have lost housing. Some of my friends are living are living in an apartment because they sold their house. They're living with their in-laws because they don't have a home where they can go. They're living all together in a house. It's really important for us, and we're here to bring it to your guys' attention to ask for help. The city council in Corcoran has helped us greatly. They continue to support us every single time. They continue to put pressure, but how much more pressure do we need to ask for? PG&E, DR Horn, please power us up, help us. We need this for our families. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
Supervisor Valley, do you have other members that are here?
Is there anyone else from Corcoran? I know we have City Councilman Sid Pomeran, Madam Clerk, who'd like to have a minute.
Morning, Sid.
Good morning. Supervisors, staff, audience. You know, I was not made aware of this till maybe a couple of months ago when these individuals who have not been able to get into their homes made me aware. And what I suggested to them, correct me if I'm wrong, is hit the media. They're always saying we're on your side. Well, I think they proved that. I seen it 26 and 30. I don't know about 47. I don't watch that channel, you know, but anyway, I like to say is, why is it taking so long? And we're getting to the stage where we're starting to point fingers. Let's stop pointing fingers and get to it, you know. This young man here goes before the Corcoran City Council. What is your name, sir? Nathan, you know, and we don't blame him. He's a messenger for PG&E. You know, I blame the higher upper, those who have the authority to clear the air and let these people move into their homes. I was talking to one individual who said, I moved in to buy a home in Corcoran because I felt the schools were good. The council was representing us very well. I want to raise my children here. But yet, there's a block there. There's a wall. They're not being able to do it. Somebody's wrong someplace. You can't be both wrong. You can't be both right. And it's time to stop pointing fingers and let's do our job. Do it for these individuals. They work hard. A lot of them are farm workers like I was at one time. You know, I used to pick cotton for 3 cents a pound and never went any higher than that. And when I used to work for 65 cents an hour on the fields, when it went to 90, I thought I was going to become rich. You know, some of these individuals fall in that area. They're hardworking people. They have kids. And God darn it, let's get going and stop pointing fingers. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Councilman.
Sid.
Mr. Chairman, I did get a text message from one of the parties involved. They're on the WebEx. Madam Clerk, are they able
Yeah,
to
there's a hand raised right now.
to speak?
Raina? Raina, can you hear us? There you are. Good morning.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am. The floor is yours.
Hello, my name's Raina Madrid. I'm actually a local realtor. I actually am representing several families out there in the city of Corcoran at the Fox Run community. I apologize, I cannot be there, but I just had a newborn, so I'm doing my best what I could do to help these families. Advocate for them. So many of them have been waiting over a year, to get into these homes. And like Natalie said, there's been a miscommunication between PG&E on when we're going to get, power. From the information that we have gotten from the builder, it looks like there's been a timeline that PG&E provided, and they haven't met the dates that they promised to. I don't know where along the lines there was I don't know, a miscommunication in regards to items that were needing to be done. From what we've been told, there is some easements that they needed to acquire, which, if many of you guys don't know, whenever you're working on a development, easements is the first things that you need to be working on when constructing a home, especially whenever you're going to connect utilities. So a lot of these families are running into a lot of hardships. As I mentioned, although I am representing several families out there, I'm also in communication with a lot of families that I'm not representing, but I am from Corcoran. I was raised in Corcoran. I lived there my whole life, all the way for about 20 years. And a lot of these families, not only I went to school with them, but they are also family, they're also friends. And Corcoran, as you know, it's a small community, but it's a tight community. I think they've done a great job in regards to making awareness of what's going on. These families are going into distress. When you buy a home, you shouldn't have to go into distress. You should be excited. You should be, counting down the days. And unfortunately, this was all stolen from them. Even though hopefully when this gets resolved, unfortunately, they got stolen the opportunity to have a great excitement on getting a brand new home. Like that's out the door, like regardless if they get their keys. But I think at this point we need a timeline. We need someone to speak up from the higher up on PG&E and let us know what's going on. What's the holdup? Like why is it? We've been told several things. They've talked about that the delay is due to a betterment program or a betterment project or something like that has to do nothing to do with these families. And as Natalie mentioned, there's about a couple families that sold their homes, so they're homeless. There's a couple families that broke their lease that are now like with families, they don't have housing. And then we have a couple families that now their rent is substantially high because they can't get into a home. So we do ask for you guys to hopefully help us out, help the families out there in Corcoran. And when you drive up, just so I could end this, when you drive up to Corcoran, you see a big old sign that says Corcoran's a great place to raise your family. So let it be. Give these families the housing that they deserve, affordable housing, and let them stay in Corcoran. So PG&E, please respond, give us a date, and let these families get into their home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just to let you know, you were seen on here on our new monitor, so it's like you're in person. So thank you.
Thank you.
Made history with the first baby.
And the first baby on the screen too. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, would you allow me 2 minutes? I know Madam Clerk, she put on the record that there was 3 letters in, but the letters are in regards to the situation. I'll be brief. I might even skip over some parts.
Go ahead.
But just for the record, this letter that was sent to clerk to the board is from Antonio Rodriguez and Juan Castillo. Hi, I've been a Corcoran resident for 38 years. I, Antonio, and Juan Castillo became homeowners at the age of 19. We owned our home in Corcoran. We have been in contact with Fox Run Homes since August 5th, 2023, in hopes to purchase a new home. We've received repeated delays since March 2024 from DR Horton on issues with PG&E to have electricity to power up the community. In August 2023, we were given a date in March 2024 to receive our keys. In March 2024, we were given an update that unfortunately the dates will be delayed to July to the end of August. We got another update in June that due to unresolved issues with PG&E, there is no date or time frame on when we will receive the keys to our home. We're here to take a stand with all the families who have been affected. We sold our home in March 2024 in conjunction with the given dates that we would be moving into our new home by May or June of this year, leaving us to rent our sold home for a few months. The dates were delayed to July, August, and then to an indefinite date. The feeling of not owning a home weighs heavy on us because we are unsure where we will end up if we are forced to leave. We're currently renting our recently sold home. We have maxed out our rental agreement date with the new owners according to the time frame that was given by DR Horton. We have packed several of our belongings in a bin that now sit in our garage. Like many families, we are extremely frustrated that there is no resolution to this issue with PG&E, but we continue to hope for better news soon. During this difficult transition, it has caused a great amount of stress, anxiety, and heartaches. It has caused many sleepless nights and uncertainty of what the future of DR Horton will be. Each time we pay our electric bill, it reminds us of the disappointment PG&E has caused us. Juan and I have endured the heartache, but when we continue to break the news about the delays to our children, it has become unbearable for us. We feel like we have lost all hope with DR Horton and PG&E. How are we supposed to continue to trust DR Horton and PG&E with our families? We do not know who's at fault, but we do know is that we need our home. We have requested Corcoran City to help us find a solution to get all the affected families into their new homes. And we believe that the city of Corcoran will stand with us to find a resolution. And very quickly, the second letter is from Anna Ledesma. It's unfortunate that we have been put in the situation of waiting and not given an exact date of when we are able to move into our new home. As first-time home buyers, we have been very excited and eager to move in our new home to provide stability to our 3 kids. We have been renting for a very long time, and for the unknown of it, or when our landlords will want their property back, and for us to scramble to find something for us to live in. This is an unfortunate part, as Corcoran is a small community and very hard to find anything to rent. So we were very excited to provide this new home for our kids for stability, and knowing that this home was ours and no one would be able to ask us to move was very exciting. But the unknown of not knowing when we will be able to move in is turning into a nightmare as first-time homeowners. We just want answers, and we ask PG&E to do their part. Thank you, Gabriel and Rudy. Lastly, this is from Tiffany Merberger. She's a teacher, and so she can't miss school this early in the school year. I'm writing to express my profound frustration and concern regarding the delay in connecting power to my new construction home, which has left my family in an incredibly difficult situation. I'm a teacher deeply committed to serving our community. It is with a heavy heart that I must share the struggles we are facing. For some time now, my family of 6 has been living in a cramped 3-bedroom, 1-bath apartment while we eagerly await the completion of our new home. The new house represents not only a significant milestone for us, but also a crucial opportunity for stability and a better quality of life. Unfortunately, despite our anticipation, we have encountered repeated delays due to the lack of progress from PG&E in connecting the power to our new home. To make matters worse, we have not been given a clear time frame or any concrete updates regarding when this essential service will be activated. This uncertainty is taking a considerable toll on our morale and well-being. The prolonged wait and lack of clarity about when we can fully move in our new home is deeply discouraging. We had hoped that these affordable homes would offer us a fresh start and the chance to thrive, but instead we are left feeling stuck and disheartened. I respectfully request that PG&E take immediate action to address this issue and provide us with a definitive time frame for when power will be connected to our home. Any assistance or expedited effort you can provide to resolve the situation would be greatly appreciated, as it would alleviate much of the stress and uncertainty that my family's currently experiencing. Kind regards, Tiffany Merberger. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to read those on the records. I know we have a study session where PG&E will be talking about power issues. And so we look forward to save a little bit more of the conversation for that time frame. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
I do. Marie Waite.
Marie, good morning. I got your name right.
Thank you, Dougie. Good morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors. Marie Waite, Director of Child Support Services. Kings County Child Support Services launched Child Support Awareness Month in August with a bang. Our kids event at our office in downtown Hanford on August 1st was a hit, drawing over 400 attendees. Kids enjoyed free haircuts, project kits from Home Depot, and tasty tacos to 175 people. Lucky winners even scored prizes like backpacks filled with school supplies, courtesy of our generous partners. In partnership with the Salvation Army, my team donated over 2,000 school items that they generously gave. And we're at the Back to School Bash on August 9th. Our engagement at the Thursday night market last week on August 22nd highlighted our dedication to providing essential services and resources to the community. I'm here today to thank you and administration and my colleagues. Really thank you, my peers, and my team. We really have made a difference this month. Together, we are changing lives of children in our community. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
That's all that I am aware of. I don't see anybody else online with their hand raised.
Okay. Anybody in the audience like to add anything to it that didn't sign up? Nope. We'll move on now to approval of the minutes. Report out of closed session from regular meeting, August 20th, 2024.
The board took no reportable action.
Thank you very much. Item B, approval of the minutes from regular meeting, August 20th, 2024. Moved by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson. Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Four in favor. Thank you very much. We're going now to consent counter. All items listed on consent counter are enacted by one motion unless the supervisor would like to pull an item separately.
Move as presented, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Supervisor Nevs,
Second.
second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, five in favor. Regular agenda items. Item A is Behavioral Health Department. And we have Dr. Lisa Lewis. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This morning, we're going to have two of our program managers presenting on these items. The first will be Brenda Pagan, who's our MHSA manager, here with her team about Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And secondly, we'll have Grant Zweifel. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Brenda Pagan, Mental Health Services Act Program Manager for Kings County Behavioral Health. With me here today are members from the Mental Health Services Act unit, including our community outreach specialists and prevention coordinators. This morning, we are here to respectfully request that your board adopt a resolution proclaiming the month of September 2024 as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in Kings County. September is National Suicide Prevention Month, a time to remember the lives lost to suicide and to acknowledge the many who have experienced suicidal thoughts and the many individuals, families, and communities that have been impacted by suicide. It's also a time to raise awareness about suicide prevention and share messages of hope. All month, mental health advocates, prevention organizations, survivors, allies, and community members unite to promote suicide prevention awareness. One way to promote awareness is by wearing a purple and teal ribbon, or just wearing purple and teal, to raise awareness and support of suicide prevention, especially during the month of September. Wearing the ribbon can be a meaningful tribute to those affected by suicide and can help start important conversations. Next, I'd like to introduce Antonio Lopez, Prevention Coordinator, who will share some statistics and prevention activities.
Good morning, Antonio.
Good morning. So I'd just like to share some statistics that draw attention to the need for awareness regarding suicide. 2023 saw 8 suicides here in Kings County, which was a little bit below average, so it was a good year. So far this year in 2024, we're up to 9, so it's getting up there, and then we still have the holiday seasons. And we're more likely to take our own lives than have someone else take our lives. So it's very important that we draw attention to this. Alongside with that, you add the fact that there are unreported suicides that can account for up to 5 to 25% more than the ones that are reported. You add to that the fact that there is suicide behavior that accounts for 40 to 100 times more, meaning that there are roughly between 320 to 800 individuals here in Kings County that are currently exhibiting suicidal behaviors. You add that to the fact that 1 in 20 individuals are currently having thoughts of suicide, meaning that in Kings County, there's roughly over 7,600 individuals that are currently living with thoughts of suicide. I tried to take a quick count of who's here in the room, and roughly there was about 80 of us, meaning that there was 4 of us here in this room currently today that, statistically speaking, are currently living with thoughts of suicide. Add to that the fact that we each usually have 20 family members, 20 friends, 20 coworkers. So within each one of those circles, we have someone that is currently living with thoughts of suicide. And just like to draw attention to the fact that here at Behavioral Health, we do offer certain trainings, suicide specific. One of them called Assist, another one called Safe Talk and Mental Health First Aid. And we do have flyers that are available that if anyone wanted to be educated on the subject matter a little bit more, everyone's welcome to assist any of these trainings. Next, Desiree Lowe's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the community activities that we have planned for September.
Good morning.
Good morning. So Kings County Behavioral Health is sponsoring and participating in the following community events to raise awareness for suicide prevention. So we will have community resource booths at every Thursday night farmers market, the Avenel Community Suicide Awareness Walk, Stop the Stigma Resource Fair at NAS Lemoore, Senior Day at the Park, Avenel Community Night Out, Hanford High School Suicide Prevention Day during lunch, Avenel Elementary, Kings Lake School in Corcoran, and also John Muir Middle School in Corcoran. We will also be giving a presentation at the Boys and Girls Club here in Hanford. We have also worked with the city, and we will be lighting up the Hanford Civic with purple and teal lights for National Suicide Prevention Week, which is September 8th through the 14th. We worked with Corcoran, and the Corcoran sign will be lit up teal for the entire month of September. NAS Lemoore will be lighting up the Jets purple and teal for the entire month of September, as well as City Hall and Avenel. We have also have some suicide prevention messaging that will be in downtown Corcoran and Hanford via banners, as well as our local high schools. So we have so far Hanford High School and Hanford West that will be displaying our National Suicide Prevention Month banner on the marquees in front of their schools. We will also be having a social media campaign through KPFP and Kings Community Action social media pages. And Kings County Behavioral Health will be hosting its first Walk of Hope, a suicide awareness walk in downtown Hanford on September 18th. Next, I'd like to introduce Liliana Robles, our prevention coordinator, who will share some suicide prevention resources with you all.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline provides free and confidential emotional support to people in suicide crisis and emotional distress 24 hours a day, 7 days out of the week across the United States. Also in the back on your way out, there will be suicide resource flyers that are both in English and in Spanish. They will be having they'll list all of the resources and support groups that are available to our Kings County residents, as well as a flyer for our Walk of Hope that's coming in September.
Thank you.
Before closing, I'd like to thank this amazing team for all of their networking and planning of these activities throughout the different communities in Kings County and making sure we're reaching each community with this important information. A press release will be sent out by the Kings County Public Information Officer once our board adopts the resolution. In closing, we're asking the board today to adopt a resolution to proclaim the month of September 2024 as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and provide the opportunity for the board to bring awareness and show their support for suicide prevention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the board? Supervisor Robinson.
I appreciate all your efforts with this. My great grandfather committed suicide, and I think he had osteomyelitis, and so he suffered throughout his whole life. But I think in the end he just didn't want to be a burden to my great grandmother, and so I was probably 7, 8 years old when the call came, and I can still remember that to this day. And so its impacts have been far-reaching. My grandmother was never the same, and the rest of the family wasn't either. So I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Anybody else?
And then go ahead.
I have a motion by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley, Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson, Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
5 in favor. Thank you very much.
And then I believe we have a framed resolution, right? And we'd like to take a picture in the well here. Yes, thank you.
Dom has the camera.
Dom has the camera.
Ooh. Okay, Tony. Get for the middle. Here we go. Smile. 1, 2, 3. One more. Okay.
Okay, next item is behavioral health as well. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Grant Zweifel, and I serve as the Quality Assurance Manager for Kings County Behavioral Health. Today, I'm presenting on a memorandum of understanding established between our agency, Kings County Behavioral Health, and all Kings County Medi-Cal managed care plans within Kings County, which are Anthem, Calviva HealthNet, and Kaiser Permanente. This MOU has no fiscal impact to the general fund. It basically delineates the collaborative framework for providing mental health services to Medi-Cal plan members within the county. Kings County Behavioral Health is contracted by the State Department of Healthcare Services to provide specialty mental health services to Medi-Cal plan members in Kings County who are experiencing serious emotional disturbances or severe mental illness, while our partners, the managed care providers, are contracted with the Department of Healthcare Services to provide non-specialty mental health services to Medi-Cal plan members experiencing mild to moderate mental health conditions. This MOU outlines our respective responsibilities and service provision, compliance and oversight, data sharing and confidentiality, training and education, and care coordination, all with the focus of a more coordinated, timely, clinically effective experience for plan members. Although over the years we have historically had an MOU with managed care plans, DHCS, Department of Healthcare Services, has recently released and mandated that we use their provided MOU template, which is what's before you today in the packet that's been provided. This MOU has been reviewed and approved by King County Behavioral Health and the managed care plans and has been approved as to form by County Council. So we're just requesting your board's approval of this MOU today and am available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any question or comment?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley, Doug
Yes.
Verboen, Rusty Robinson, Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, 5 in favor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item is going to be human resources. And we have Melissa. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Melissa Avalos, Principal Personnel Analyst with Human Resources. I'm here today to recommend that the board authorize the Human Resources Director and designated staff to sign the successor agreement with the Prosecutors Association for a term beginning July 1, 2024, ending June 30th, 2025. The previous agreement with the Prosecutors Association expired on June 30th, 2024. The county and the association began negotiations in May 2024, and a successor agreement was reached between the parties for a term ending June 30th, 2025. The salaries were updated in accordance with the salary recommendations from the Coffin Associates Classification and Compensation Study. The salary increase is effective August 19th, 2024, pay period 18/2024. County contributions for health insurance premiums were updated to reflect the new rates that went into effect July 1, 2024. During the term of the agreement, any increases in the health insurance premium amounts will continue to be shared equally between the employee and employer, with both the county and employee having an equal percentage applied to their share. Other benefits were added to the agreement. The holiday closure for calendar year 2024 was added, which includes an additional 3 days, 24 hours of paid closure time. The deferred compensation match was increased from $2,500 to $2,750 beginning January 1st, 2025. The professional vacation accruals were increased from 80 hours to 100 hours each fiscal year, of which only 80 hours can be cashed out each fiscal year. The accumulation limits and a vacation accrual incentive rate for new hires with other public agency was also added. And lastly, the vacation accruals were increased for employees who have less than 2 2 years or less. The memorandum of understanding was updated to incorporate all modifications previously agreed to, including the recruitment and retention bonus and the added half-day holiday for the Christmas Eve, as well as minor wording updates and other negotiated non-economic changes. The MOU was attached and has been ratified by the association. The total cost of implementation of the salary increases and deferred compensation is approximately $231,222 for the remainder of the fiscal year. I would like to thank the Prosecutors Association, the Administration Office, and the Board of Supervisors for all their efforts in helping us reach a successor agreement in this matter. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
No, thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the board?
So moved.
Moved by Supervisor Fagundes, second by Supervisor Neves.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson, Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
5 in favor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll go on now to item C, Public Health Department. And it looks like we have Heather Campos coming today. Morning, Heather.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. How are you guys? It's cold in here. It's freezing. Okay, so for our first item, we would like to bring our HIV surveillance program to you to approve the agreement to authorize the chairman to retroactively sign the agreement from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2029. The Kings County Department of Public Health has been a part of the HIV surveillance program for over 2 decades, focusing on the systematic collection, analysis, and dissemination of data on individuals diagnosed with HIV and AIDS. The program aims to provide accurate, timely information to identify infection patterns and measure the burden of HIV. Our program supports HIV surveillance at the local level, emphasizing 5 key goals, which are maintaining infrastructure for HIV case reporting, ensuring accurate and timely data submission, safeguarding data security and patient confidentiality, managing the program according to administrative guidelines, and collaborating with partners to advance California's integrated plan goals. The program funds 1 LVN to collect HIV data, follow up with the individual, provide education, referrals, and support, and report the data required to the state in a timely manner. The application agreement is retroactive to the application timeline provided by the California Department of Public Health. The initial application document was received from the state to us on July 3rd, and then we went through the internal process of getting counsel and risks review and approval. We respectfully request the board to approve the HIV surveillance program retroactively and adopt the budget change. This concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley is not available. Richard Valley,
Sorry, aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson, Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
5 in favor. Thank you very much. Item 2.
Okay, thank you. So Kings County Department of Public Health, Maternal, Child, and Adolescent Health Program is asking the board to approve the MCH agreement funding application and to authorize the chairman to retroactively sign the agreement for the term of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th of 2025. The MCH program is a core public health program whose purpose is to promote the health of women of reproductive age, pregnant women, infants, and children. This is accomplished through partnerships, empowerment, and education of individuals while funding and administering the MCH-related programs and initiatives. The MCH program includes a public health nurse that works directly with medical providers in the obstetrician's offices, as well as the community, to educate and promote early comprehensive prenatal care to Medi-Cal recipients. It also provides funding for a public health nurse who serves as our SIDS coordinator, who investigates and counsels families after an unexpected sudden infant death. In addition, the MCH program provides education on MCH health and wellness, as well as safe sleep and linkages to health and social services. The goal of the maternal child health program is to improve birth and health outcomes for women, infants, and children residing in Kings County. This application is also retroactive due to California Department of Public Health sending us the approved application on July 22nd of 2024, and then we went through the internal process of counsel and risk review. We respectfully request the board to approve the MCH agreement and funding application retroactively and adopt the budget change. This concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the board? Moved by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson, Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, good job.
Thank
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to administration and Kyria,
It's actually going to be Matthew.
Matthew.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Matthew Boya, Deputy County Administrative Officer at the Kings County Administration.
So roughly a couple of weeks ago, SkyCharger reached out to the county looking for a little bit of assistance in applying for a grant under the United States Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Round 2 grant, because this grant is only available to local government agencies. And so what this grant is it provides for $800 million in competitive funding to fund corridor and community projects that ultimately supports charging and alternative fueling infrastructure along alternative fuel corridors such as I-5 that runs right there through Kettleman City. So these corridor projects must contract with private firms for the acquisition and installation of these facilities. So the application is due on September 11th, 2024. So what SkyCharger is proposing is the development, construction, and operation of a state-of-the-art electric vehicle charging facility on Bernard Drive there in Kettleman. And it's on the section that is west of State Route 41 at the very end of that cul-de-sac there on the north end of that cul-de-sac is where the proposed site's going to be. And so this charging facility is going to include 72 charging ports, 4 megawatt-hour battery storage system, 3.86 megawatts of solar canopies, and a convenience store that'll be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so this project has many benefits, of which some of them are, it's estimated to bring over 300 jobs during the construction phase. And then upon completion, roughly 8 full-time jobs to go ahead and staff that facility there. It's also estimated to reduce the greenhouse gas equivalents there of roughly 750,000 tons, and ultimately goes to support California's goals of an advanced clean fleet and greater adoption of EV charging vehicles statewide. And so what the state is trying to do is really facilitate infrastructure connecting Oregon to Mexico. And so I-5 is a very, prime corridor for that. So this project has a budget of roughly $54.2 million in total improvements, of which about $35.7 million will be funded, hopefully through this infrastructure grant, with the remaining balance to be funded by SkyCharger themselves through various renewable energy and EV station tax credits, additional grants, PG&E rebates, and other sponsor equity. It's estimated to generate $642 million in revenue over the 20 years of the project from electricity and low carbon fuel standard credits. And so this grant would essentially create a relationship between, if awarded, we would essentially, serve two different roles in the relationship between SkyCharger and the county. So for the county's part, we would essentially be the applicant for this funding because it is available only to local government agencies. And so we would have to oversee and administer the grant, as we would ultimately be responsible for that grant. Of course, any time that staff would spend on this grant would be reimbursed through the grant if awarded. For SkyCharger's part, they're essentially the subrecipient, and they're also going to be the infrastructure developer, the owner and operator of that facility there in Kettleman. And they would prepare reimbursements requests to the county for our review, and then we would then disperse funds accordingly. They would also prepare all of the required reports that are part of the requirements of the grant. So the next steps after this morning, if this resolution is approved. So SkyCharger will assist the county in ultimately submitting the application with FHWA. And if approved, we will be back before your board with any applicable agreements with SkyCharger for any indemnifications and protections of the county for our role in this, since we're essentially the pass-through agency making this grant funding available for SkyCharger. So it's anticipated that the notice of award is going to be awarded in the first quarter of next year, and the contract execution, if awarded, contract execution with FHWA in quarter 2 of next year, with the anticipated commissioning of the site in quarter 2 of 2027. So with that, the recommendation before your board this morning is the adoption of a resolution authorizing staff to submit a funding request through the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Discretionary Round 2 Grant Program for an electric vehicle charging station project in Kettleman City. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And if I cannot, we do have representation from SkyCharger here this morning in chambers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The representative from SkyCharger actually flew out from Tennessee, so if he wants to say a few things, we'd like to invite him to the.
Appreciate it.
Why don't you come forward and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your project? I know that I'll be going to DC in September 8th, and we will be at the DOT. So if you need help talking about it in front of the people that will approve it, we can do that as well. We have a policy council. We go for transportation issues, and so we'll be there the week of the 11th.
Great.
So if it's something that we need to bring awareness to, or just don't say anything about it, just let me know.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me here today, Chairman Verboon and board. We see this as a great project on I-5. It's one of the key corridors connecting, San Francisco and Sacramento down to Los Angeles County. And it's going to be a major point of electrification that's going to be needed for freight as the state looks to mandate the electrification going forward into 2045 with the Advanced Clean Fleet regulation passed and implemented this year to start that transition off. These grant funds are really critical in de-risking capital on the front end as adoption is low of Class 8 electric vehicles. The project in near term, while freight is electrifying, will support light duty vehicles, which are already being adopted within the state of California and throughout the country. So I'm here to answer any questions about SkyCharger or Skyview Ventures, the holdings company that owns Skyview or SkyCharger, and look forward to pursuing this project with Kings County.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Valley.
Thanks for coming from Tennessee, from Memphis.
Nashville.
Nashville. All right. I wish I knew the gentleman.
City.
Yes, sir. I wish knew the gentleman was coming. We'd ask him to bring us some ribs from Memphis. We'd have some for lunch. Love Memphis, Tennessee, and appreciate you coming. I know things are moving quick. I was excited to get the call from CAO Martinez a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Chair, I'm happy to support this because when I believe that the people of Kettleman City, these are the types of attractions that they ask for. And so this is something I believe that they'll be happy with. There's been discussions about wish lists from that community. Anytime we can draw more people off I-5 and Highway 41 to stop, get those car counts up and spend money in Kettleman City, that's exactly what we need. And so on top of what your project will bring, the bigger picture is very positive for the county as a whole there with those sales tax revenue dollars. So thank you for your interest in Kings County, and thank you for reaching out, and have a safe flight back to Tennessee.
Thank you.
Is that a motion?
Yes. Well, let me quiz him though, since he's from Tennessee. Do you know what this ring means? TCB. Come on, Elvis's logo. This is Elvis Presley's ring, taking care of business in a flash. Okay. I'm gonna vote against this project now. Yes, sir. Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I have any more questions or comments?
Second.
Moved by Supervisor Valley, second by Supervisor Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley. Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson. Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
I'm in favor. And just tell Jan, he's here. If you need any help talking about it in DC, not a problem. Or don't say anything else. I mean, I like to brag about my community when I go. So we don't have a lot of projects in the DOT from Kings County, but we go for all 9 counties. So
Thank you very much.
okay, thank you. Okay, next item is Next item is study session, administration. Gazelle. Good morning, Gazelle.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Giselle Coy, Administrative Analyst, Kings County Administration. This morning, I'm requesting that your board receive the presentation from Pacific Gas and Electric regarding the affordability updates and income graduated fixed charge. At this time, I'd like to introduce Nathan Alonso on behalf of Local Government Affairs with PG&E.
Morning, Nathan.
Good morning, Chairman Verboon, members of the board, Kyria and team here at Kings County. My name is Nathan Alonso. I am your local government affairs representative with Pacific Gas and Electric. I'd like to start off by introducing some of the team that we have here today. We have our leaders from our customer organization, Greg Race and Marisol Ventura, From service planning and design, the manager of our region, Vanessa Lara, and then my leader in local government affairs in the region, Erica Cabrera. So today we want to go over a few things, an affordability update. We want to talk about income graduated fixed charge. We want to talk about how we're breaking down the dollar. We're spending ratepayer funding at PG&E. And then most importantly, we want to talk about Fox Run in Corcoran and want to talk about next steps and want to do everything that we can, and I'll emphasize this up front, in order to ensure that Pacific Gas and Electric is doing everything in their part and their power to get these folks in their home. The dream of anyone is to own a home, and folks waiting to get in their homes is something that we take very seriously, and we are going to do everything in our power to make sure that we help move this process along. So we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So over the course of the last 10, 12 years, we have been taking feedback from folks such as yourself in government at the local level, legislative leaders, and other groups around the state about the affordability issues that customers are experiencing on the residential billing front. And we have been coming up with a number of different mechanisms and strategies over the course of the last several years to try to begin the process in earnest of helping to bring residential customer bills down. We'll go to the next slide. So the beginning of that started in about 2022 when between legislative leaders, the administration, regulators, and the investor-owned utilities, the idea of a multi-income tier fixed charge came about. So this is one tool in helping to bring residential customer bills down. So this was passed as part of the budget in 2022. And the timeline given through the legislation was that the California Public Utilities Commission had to come up with at least a three-tiered process, and it had to be voted on by at least May of this year. In March, the CPUC issued a proposed decision on the fixed charge proceeding, and it was ultimately adopted on May 9th of this year. We'll go to the next slide. So in breaking down what customer bills and what your price per kilowatt hour looks like today, your price of what it takes to build, maintain, operate, and innovate the system, and then your volumetric charge, or how much you're using, is all lumped into one. What income graduated fixed charge does is it separates those two out. The cost, or the fixed cost, of building, maintaining, innovating, and maintaining the system, and then your volumetric is separated. And it's separated with income graduated fixed charge into 3 different income tiers. And we hope that this is going to provide meaningful savings to customers. Right now, we anticipate about a $12 a month savings. Doesn't seem like a lot, but this is one strategy and a first step in that direction. And it's also going to provide a decrease in the price per kilowatt hour of between 5 and 7 cents per kilowatt hour. So if you're a care customer in Kings County today, and your price per kilowatt hour now under our basic residential rate plan, your price per kilowatt hour is 29 cents. So at a savings of 7 cents off, that's about a quarter off of your price per kilowatt hour. And we hope that this will specifically go towards helping those who are experiencing some of the largest struggles in being able to pay their electric bill, our care and fair customers. We'll go to the next slide. And this is how the 3 tiers break down. If you're a care customer, your fixed charge with this new income graduated fixed charge will be $6 a month. If you're a FERA customer, which is still an income qualified program, it'll be $12. And if you are not on an income qualified customer reduction plan, your overall fixed charge will be $24.15. So the CPUC, in looking at adopting this fixed charge, looked at a number of different fixed charges that already exist throughout the state. They looked at places up north that have a fixed charge as low as $6 to other publicly owned utilities down in Southern California that have a fixed charge of as high as $87. They felt that 2415 was a good starting point and fit the mix of customers that we have based off of income levels and then the number of programs that we provide and the risk profile of our system. So next, we will go to the next slide. So a quick affordability update. In June, you started seeing some messaging in the media about a temporary decrease that customers will see in their residential bill starting July 1st. So customers will see a 9% reduction. And this is the product of a number of costs due to wildfires and the 11 atmospheric rivers that we had in 2022. Those costs were finally recovered, so customers could see those savings realized on their bill over the course of the next several months. Our goal was to help alleviate customer bills, especially during the hottest time of the year. Here in our region, we're in a unique position. Summer months are definitely when ratepayers, your customers here, your constituents, are using the most electricity. In July, we had 25 days over 100 degrees. So we hope that for those who are using more, they are realizing these savings. So the other thing that we're doing is at community events and in partnering with community-based organizations throughout the region, we're doing what we can to enroll as many customers as we can in CARE and FERA. These are income qualified programs. These help provide a discount of between 18, FERA 20% on CARE for customers who qualify. We'll go to the next slide. These are some of the financial assistance programs that we're also actively trying to enroll customers in and providing to community-based organizations to help us and enroll customers. Two of the biggest ones that I want to highlight are REACH, which is the top one, and LIHEAP at the bottom. Both of these programs are designed to help work with customers to eliminate any outstanding bills that they may have through either a triple match, which in REACH, if a customer has like a $400 outstanding bill, the last payment they made was $100, the REACH program triple matches their last payment, so it helps completely eliminate that $400 balance. Then LIHEAP is a program that's administered through some of our community nonprofit partners who can help customers eliminate any back balance as well. And it's perfectly fine. We can go to the next slide. So one of the items that is brought up consistently, not only in the media, but by a lot of leaders at the legislative level, and maybe there's some questions even about it here at the local level, is what are you doing with the money? And this is how the dollar breaks down to PG&E. 54 cents goes towards energy generation, operations, and maintenance, or what it takes to build, maintain, and deliver power to you. A little under the dime is our regulated authorized earnings, or what we're allowed to earn as the company providing the service. And then about a nickel of that is taxes that we pay at various levels of government, at the federal, state, and then here at the local level. For example, at the local level, we have franchise agreements with different jurisdictions, and then we obviously pay taxes here locally as well. Some things that I wanted to highlight that are in your monthly bill are 10% of your average residential customer bill. So for example, if your bill is $200, $20 of that goes towards vegetation management. So trimming trees and taking care of vegetation high wildfire threat areas. That's to reduce risk, the risk profile for us and to safeguard the system. 6% of customer bills go towards contributing to the pot that helps subsidize our CARE and FERA program. But the point that I want to draw some attention to is if today, it doesn't matter if you're on CARE, FERA or not, if you do not have solar, you are paying $35 a month to subsidize those that do have solar. So that is a significant chunk of money on customers' bills. And that has a significant effect on especially customers that are on CARE and FERA and can least afford to pay $35 a month. Thing I do want to highlight that we all see here on the left-hand side is the state mandates portion. Almost a third of your overall bill is state mandates. what we are required to do and to pass on and run through the bill. So the legislature or regulators or other mechanisms go, they pass a piece of legislation or come up with a mandate. It then gets approved, and then it's mandated that we put it on your bill. So a third of that overall bill is state mandates. Over the course of the next year or two, we'll be coming to you here at the local level to ask for your help in going to regulators, legislators, and all of the different decision makers to help either determine what needs to be reformed. That could be the net energy metering incentives, or what has served its purpose and can be completely eliminated and rolled off of customer bills so that customers can start receiving real-time savings as quickly as possible. So that is how the dollar breaks down. We can go to the next slide. Now, I think that we wanted to talk a little bit about the subject that a lot of neighbors from throughout Kings County, a lot of you are thinking about on the dais, and we want to respond to as a company, and that is the situation with Fox Run in Corcoran. Over the course of the last several months, we had some engagement, and I want to thank Supervisor Valley for bringing us, CRISCOM, City of Corcoran, DR Horton together to begin the conversation of, hey, we're beginning to run into issues here as far as the progress of the electrification process goes at Fox Run. And Chairman Valley brought us together with the challenge of what can you guys do together to help bring this process along, provide relief to these folks that are about to buy their homes, and help us score a victory for Corcoran, get 49 families into their homes, and continue to show that Corcoran is a community that's worth investing in and can build housing and do all the things that prosperous communities do. So we began the conversation there. Since that time, we have been meeting with DR Horton. I don't see any representatives here today, but I do want to, hey, Corinne. I want to give a special thank you to Corinne and Rochelle from DR Horton. They've been very positive, wonderful to work with, and we've been working together over the course of the last several months. The City of Corcoran has been in each of those meetings mostly, and we have been seeing what we need to do in order to move the process forward. Where we stand today, and what I want to clarify is that there are a number of different things that need to happen in order for us to move the process along. Some of those are an electric redesign. The next step after that is the acquisition of easements. And then after that, we can talk about a timeline for electrification, construction, and making sure that we're getting these folks into their homes. There is no shortage of resources and dedicated individuals at PG&E that are working on this problem. Vanessa is leading a team of a number of different service planning, land, electric design folks ready to go to work. So this is something that we're taking seriously and we have not stopped working on. But there are a number of steps that don't all belong to us that we have to get through in order to make sure that we're making the progress necessary to get these folks into our home. I am happy to kick off the discussion with that. And we're all here to answer any and all questions about the presentation, but then also Fox Run, since I know that's more of the topic that we want to talk about today.
If I may interject, this is Diane Freeman, County Council. I appreciate your comments regarding Fox Run, and I'm treating them as responsive to the public comments that were offered earlier today. But I'd like to note for the record that a discussion regarding the dispute in Corcoran is outside of the scope of the agendized item. So I would encourage the board and all members of the public at this time as part of this agenda item to limit the discussion in respect to the Brown Act.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect to council, this is a study session. The Board of Supervisors has not taken any action today. And on anything, Fox Run, nothing that Nathan is asking for an action date, simple presentation. And it's since it's being held in public, protocol around the county is very clear on this. Aside, even if Nathan didn't bring up the conversation of Fox Run, it would be fair because he's talking about power and utilities. to, for any one of us and any board member to bring it up and any member of the public to bring it up. The fact that Nathan brought it up in a study session, I don't take it as response to unscheduled appearances and public comment. He clearly came prepared today to speak on it, and I thank you for that, Nathan. Thank you. He's seen the news stories. They've heard from a number of people outside of Kings County that this is an issue that a lot of people care about and feel needs to be resolved very quickly. So, but I appreciate respectfully your note on the record. And Mr. Chair, if I can, I do have a couple of questions.
Okay, yeah, we have a public hearing at 10:30, so we have about 15 minutes. So
Okay. Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. And I also want to thank everybody for being here. Nathan, your team, Corcoran City Manager, Chuck Deloitte, Carol from Chris Com, Corcoran City Councilman, Sid Pomeran, and the representative from DR Horton. I know everyone's busy, but it just shows how important this is. So because you brought it up, now I don't have to mess with a lot of my notes. I could just get straight to the point. So one of the things that you brought up, sir, was the issue of easements. And the easement, getting easements to for PG&E to be able to connect to power poles on people's properties, that doesn't start here once the homes are built, right?
Correct.
It starts years in advance. So looking at the timeline, it started in 2021. So how are we here today in September nearly of 2024, and we're talking about easements?
So typically when a project starts, an applicant can come to us, and typically they do have the easements in hand and they show up to the project and we can go from there. In this situation, that was not the case. I think there was a preference for PG&E to get the easements instead of the applicant or the customer. So if you can come up, this is Vanessa Lars. She's the manager of service planning and design. She's our subject matter expert on this. I could give you the rudimentary, or she can give you the expert of it.
That's good. Are you the
no offense, Nathan, we want the expert.
I'm the planning manager for
go on.
PG&E that covers the Central Valley for applicant design projects.
Are you the highest ranking PG&E official here today?
The highest ranking.
No, today in your team.
No, we have a regional senior manager
Okay,
here
thank you.
for the Central Valley.
Thank you.
What I'd like to start off saying is that we are limited due to privacy concerns. The applicant of record is DR Horton. We have ongoing discussions that are timely with DR Horton. Really, the responsibility of informing home buyers, the community, falls with the applicant of record, right? We are limited as far as the scope of the project, what has transpired since 2021. I can assure you that my team has been actively engaged with DR Horton. I would like, though, for the communication that's coming directly to everybody here in a public session, as well as to the home buyers, to be directed at DR Horton. But I can assure you that we have partnered. We are meeting with them on a very regular basis. My team is actively engaged.
Yeah, thanks for being here. But DR Horton didn't ask to be on the agenda of the Kings County Board of Supervisors. PG&E did. You did. And I thank you for being here. So my questions will be for you and for whoever the highest ranking official is. I would love to talk to them.
I love the title of highest ranking official. I am far from that. But my name is Greg Race. I'm the regional senior manager that covers Kern and Fresno divisions under our new Central Valley region. The actual highest ranking officer, I report to him. His name's Josh Sims. But I can let you know for sure that above that, even our chief customer officer, Marlene Santos, we were emailing about this subject just the other day. So this was brought up all the way to the top when you're talking about who's the highest ranking official in the room. Be aware that our chief customer officer, Marlene Santos, is aware of this exact situation as well. So I think Vanessa touched on it pretty clearly that the customer of record in this scenario is DR Horton. We've been communicating and working with them since 2021. I want to, with all honesty and empathy, say to the homeowners that we apologize for the delay and are part of this process. However, it's very complicated when you have a piece of land that a developer wants to develop. And in order for us to get our facilities to that land, we need easements. in most cases. A lot of times these projects are started at what we call at risk, with the hope that in the future or through the process, we gain those easements. And the reason why we don't necessarily want to get into the weeds of easements, because there's money involved in that as well from property owners.
And I understand money, but when you say you're talking like easements are barely beginning discussions, but back in January 29th of 2021, PG&E, you accepted a check for over $98,000 from D.R. Horton to start the process, meaning at that point when you accepted the check, you gave the home developer and signaled the city of Corcoran, we are moving forward here. So, and even at that time, sir, isn't it true that D.R. Horton actually approached PG&E early on and said, look, we have a team, we could go start the allocation of easements 3 years ago, and PG&E told D.R. Horton, the developer, no, we will go ahead and do that. So the question is, why did that not take place 3 years ago?
I can't speak to the communication that went on when the application was first made, but just to speak in like vagaries, there's two options that a customer has when they bring us an application. That's either for us to design the project or to have an applicant designer design that project. In this instant, D.R. Horton chose to have an applicant designer design that project. And so what is going to happen in it, and I'm not speaking, I'm speaking in generalities. And so we have a plot of land that there's going to be homes on. What that applicant designer does is then chooses the closest route or nearest point of contact to serve those customers. And obviously the nearest point of contact is going to be the cheapest. So that's where we start. And like I say, there's been several redesigns of this.
Who asked for the redesigns?
The redesigns were asked by us multiple times based on the design that they were giving us and based on a lot of different circumstances that really are between the PG&E and D.R. Horton in a public forum.
No, they're between us now. This is public. The whatever you got to do with your privacy, but the moment, sir, the moment you came to the podium and you opened up the discussion. Is public. So you accepted a $98,000 check 3 years ago on a design. You did. It's on record.
No, I'm not.
Okay. You could say no if you want.
Confirming or denying. I don't know. I don't know the specifics.
I know you did. Okay. So my question is, after the clock is ticking and the homeowners are getting close to moving in for some reason, and on the records that I've read and that some of the board members have and documentation, that is when months ago you informed the home developer D.R. Horton that original design isn't going to work because of a major land task, which now we know that land task is your easement. So clearly somebody at PG&E, your responsibility was to go get the land easements and you didn't. So then, and I'll just say it from the documentation I have, and you can say it's wrong if you want, or you can just leave it alone. So PG&E approached D.R. Horton and said, submit a redesign. This is redesign 2. And here's how it should be so we can make it work for you and get your people in your home. And D.R. Horton submitted the design based on your approach to the situation. Now, as you are in the last 5 months pushing the timeline back to power up these people's homes, you now failed and did not approve that second design. How does PG&E not approve the second redesign when it's your design? How does that happen?
I can't speak to the redesign. I was not.
Well, let's go on to the third redesign. Let's go to the third design.
Diane Freeman, I'd like to interject once again and remind the board that a discussion regarding the dispute in Corcoran is outside the scope of the agendized item.
Thank you,
and
Council.
seek to bring this back.
Thank you, Council. So, ma'am,
Supervisor Valley, I apologize, but Erica Cabrera, I'm the local government affairs manager, and just kind of staying within the guidance of the council. By all means, we want to share as much information as possible, but without having the customer release the ability for us to speak freely about all of the integral pieces of where we have been, we are going to have to speak in generality. And
Okay, so in general terms.
So I know that there is frustration.
Yes.
You know, our representative has offered to meet with, you know, with you privately, or if you wanted to have DR Horton and us present, we are able to do that as long as we have a release that we can open and freely speak. We do not have that at this time, right?
Yeah,
So we
can do that right after this meeting. We can do that right after this meeting.
as best as we can. And so I know there's some frustration, but I just want to remind everyone, like, there are limitations on ourselves of the information that we can share because the customer of record that we have a signed contract with is with DR Horton.
Thank you, but that kind of talk gets us nowhere. So one, as I mentioned, Nathan, I'm happy to have the meeting, but I would not have any meeting with you without the family. So I have some reps here. I'm happy to sit down with you.
DR Horton allows that information to be shared with the families present.
Okay, now the third redesign that you guys are now asking for, that's saying will solve this issue. You guys now describe to the home developer an idea on the third redesign, which now takes going from one direction to power up on the opposite direction of this 40+ home development. Now that third redesign for the homeowners who are waiting, they're going to have to wait if you approve this design. For the land developer, anyone who's seen the news, the beautiful homes out there, beautiful curb, gutter, and sidewalk, now the land developer is going to have to go there and tear apart and destroy all that curb, gutter, and sidewalk to go back underground and run infrastructure all the way to the opposite end, because there's one property owner there that understand that if you get the easement from them, then that's where you could power up versus going through 17 property owners for, as you originally cleared and said you were going to go get the easements for. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of money. I have a community, a couple of us represent rural communities that have no curb, gutter, and sidewalk. And that place is beautiful. You can go walk it right now. It's walkable. It's affordable home. State mandates 31% of your bill. That's what Corcoran's trying to get done. And your third redesign is saying tear it up. So that tells me a general timeline that I'm not happy with, that people will not be able to get into their homes. You've heard the stories. We're not going to go over the stories. I'll close with this. I'll start to close with this. Okay. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad your project managers are here. Project manager number 4, number 5 on the situation, as I understand it to be. But you know who I wish was here, who I know could really help? I have a feeling. I never met her. I'd be honored to meet her. Your CEO, Patty. Is it Patty
Patty Poppy.
Patty Poppy.
Yes.
From what I know of her, Mr. Chair, she just took over a few years ago from PG&E Delete, and she took over a company that wasn't in a good position at the time.
Absolutely.
I'm amazed at what I read of her and met of her. She seems at the kind of leader that I have a feeling if she truly knew about this situation, and I would love to have a call with her. If she truly knew about this situation, based on what I know of her, she seems like the type of leader that would jump in that pickup truck of hers, drive down to Corcoran with 3 of your big, beautiful PG&E trucks behind her, and would get that power turned on. And what I do know about her is when she came, she brought a new language to PG&E. Did she not? She communicates with the customers of PG&E and your fellow employees in a new language. Do you know what that language is?
Language of love.
The language of love.
Absolutely.
And your CEO defines love as a verb, because she says love insinuates action.
Absolutely.
Do you think what's going on in Corcoran right now is represent her principles of love and action?
To the best as we can. I think from the principle of love, and I know you're not going to be happy with what I have to say, but us being here today exemplifies that love and exemplifies.
Turning on the power exemplifies the love.
Absolutely. But I will tell you this, from the perspective of speaking in generalities and speaking to the redesigns, PG&E just doesn't willy-nilly request a redesign without any reason or any validation behind that. So to Erica's point, if we want to talk about the reasons or details behind those redesigns, we're welcome to have a conversation in private with DR Horton to fill you in about the several different redesigns that we're talking
Okay.
about today.
As soon as the
Problem
study
there.
session's
And I
over,
do-
I'll sit down with you.
And I do, absolutely. And I do want to thank you for recognizing Patty Poppy,
Yes.
the cultural change we're trying to have. And when I mentioned Marlene Santos earlier in the day, that's through the lean process that Patty has brought into our company in terms of these type of escalations, very quickly getting to senior leaders, to Patty. Marlene Santos reports directly to Patty Poppy.
She aware?
She is aware of that. I had an email with her just the other day spelling out the details of this specific instance. And so she is on a call on the daily with Patty Poppy, forwarding those escalations from the different regions throughout the company. So I'm sure she's aware of. And if we want to have further discussions, we absolutely can.
Okay.
But please, we are here to do whatever we can. We want to move this forward quickly. The homeowners, I'm telling you, what I heard today is very sad. We've heard stories like this, and I appreciate them for coming forward.
They're
Really.
bad stories.
They are.
And we need.
Now, we want to do our part to energize those customers as soon as possible. I promise you that.
And I will close with this. Okay. I'm not in a position right now. I don't know DR Horton. I've never met them. I've never done business with them. I'm not here, Ms. Chair, because I'm on the side of DR Horton. I'm not saying DR Horton is perfect. The only reason why my focus is on PG&E, because you, sir, are the only people who could turn on the power.
Absolutely.
And that's all that I care about, to get these people in their homes. It's their devastating, stressful circumstances. So please don't take what I'm doing and what I'm going to continue to do as any negativity in my relationship with Nathan. It goes back years. And in most cases, we've been successful in powering up gas stations, convenience stores, major stores around the county. And I thank you for that. So, and again, I don't look at this to be like some kind of a contest on who blinks first.
No.
This is not. I
We're
want
here in
this.
this
I want.
spirit of collaboration.
Yes, sir. I want this to be a win-win for
Yeah.
everyone. I understand PG&E has their concerns. I understand DR Horton has their concerns. Please understand that I have concerns for my constituents. The homeowners have concerns. All I want to do is marry all those concerns together and make it a win-win for everybody. So please, I would like to have the conversation with Miss Patty. I would love to have you guys just rearrange your schedules that you have and prioritize Corcoran and come down and let's power up the community. Now, until then, Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask that for County Council to feel better, if we could just agendize 3 weeks from now and ask PG&E to come back on an agendized item specifically to this issue.
I would also suggest DR Horton being included.
And DR Horton.
We're
Yeah.
here speaking.
Yes,
to
sir.
a portion of that.
Yes, sir.
I would suggest, yeah,
Okay.
DR Horton.
And we could frame it in a way, Mr. Chairman, that where the approach is comfortable to county council. And we could frame it in a way, and we have time to agendize it in a matter to where you're comfortable with how the language goes on the agenda and the scope of that. But I do want to get an item agendized in 3 weeks to 4 weeks as a placeholder, because I have a feeling once we talk to Ms. Patty, that love is going to extend through, and in 4 weeks from now, that power is going to be on, and there's not going to be a need for this item. And I'm going to pray about that every night that happens.
And
I
if I could
appreciate
add to it, I mean, we are in another jurisdiction in the city of Corcoran. Make sure someone represents the city of Corcoran in that conversation.
No, yes, and they are here, but respectfully, I know that they did not want to approach because of council's concerns on the scope within the study session. And then lastly, I did spend a lot of time yesterday, and I did reach subdivision of the California Public Utilities Commission, and I'm told this morning that there is a discussion with that subdivision and PG&E today, and I'm hopeful we can get some progress out of that too. I'll see you guys in a minute.
Yeah, and I think Nathan has something to say, but before I go, I really do. I only assume positive intent, Supervisor Valley. So I appreciate the concern. We have a great concern as well for this project, and we're willing to do what we can to move it forward. So
Please turn on the power. So.
Well, thank you, Greg. Erica, and Vanessa. We look forward to coming back, but before all of that happens, I know that it is our goal for PG&E, DR Horton, City of Corcoran, and Supervisor, if you'd like to join in on the meetings, that we can have the confidential conversations in order to move this project along, figure out what the deficiencies are, which lie with which group, in order to create some of the real progress. We appreciate the opportunity to speak in generalities here today, but also to move the ball. We are aware of the escalations that have been brought before our regulators. We are informing them of everything that we're doing behind the scenes. We are making them aware of our process, where things stand, and what is expected of us. And we're looking forward to that. We'll be at the Corcoran City Council tonight, talking to them just the same as we came to talk to you. But in closing, I think we all want the same thing, and that is folks in their homes enjoying their homes that they paid for as soon as possible. And it's going to be very productive when all of us who are leaders and own a piece of this issue come together, and we can own our individual parts, marry them together, and find the path forward as quickly and as productively as possible. That's what we have been doing since we first met 4 months ago and brought all stakeholders together, and that's what we will continue to do until these folks can get in their homes. So I want to thank each of you for giving us the opportunity to talk about rates, affordability, income graduated fixed charge, how we're spending the dollar, and address a couple of these concerns on Fox Run. But if you have any other questions, I'll certainly field them now, but if not,
I'm done. I'm done, Mr. Chairman. And if any of the other board, actually, I know the board goes first, but I see that a member of the public wanted to approach.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, come forward. We're behind. I thought we had a public public hearing at 10:30, but it's at 10, so they dropped us up. Thank you.
PG&E. A project manager in March 2024 had given us a notification that 24 of the lots with that redesign would be powered up. So the question is, my house and several of the ones that are on Zoom right now, those are more than 10 of those families are the 24 houses. So I just want to know what happened. Why can't they use that redesign when we were guaranteed that those 24 lots would be powered up with that design? That's the only question I have. The only reason I'm asking PG&E is because when we go to the city council, Nathan never has answers because he can't do it in a public hearing. So, I mean, we never hear their side. We hear Horton's side. We hear back and forth, but that's just the question I have. The 24 lots that were able to be powered up with that portion, other than easement, what's happening. My house is on one of those 24 lots, so.
So
thank you.
I want to say we're sorry for what you're going through, and specifically, we want to get you home. Want to make sure you get in your home, your ADA home. I can't give you the answer because right now the customer on record is DR Horton. They're the only ones who can answer that question.
Well, can you give them the answer so they can give us, the customers that we're working with them, because they don't give us answers?
One, they have the answer.
Okay, well then Horton, let us know, because there's several of us. If you guys want to come out to the city one in Corcoran so that you guys can hear how they go back and forth and don't communicate with us.
Okay, thank you. So tonight you have a city council meeting in Corcoran, and DR Horton will be there. Yes, and PG&E will be there, and the city of Corcoran will be there. So hopefully you guys can resolve something this evening. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, what Natalie is clarifying, which is what I forgot to do, it's 3 wires we're talking about. I believe 1 to 2 wires powers up this whole community. We're not even asking for power for the 40+ homes right now, because not all those homes are completed, but what was promised was the first 17 that were labeled as sold and started the sales agreement process would have been powered up by mid-March. And so I think that second redesign that PG&E had put forward was their plan to say, here's how we can power up those first 17 homes. And so again, what Natalie is just trying to simply say is it's only a small portion that we need power to right now. There has to be a way to do it. Then the clock starts over on the other homes that aren't even sold yet.
Okay, thank you. We asked for resolution. Hope you guys come to an agreement tonight and get things done. Sooner the better. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll go on to our 10 o'clock public hearing, and we have our Community Development Agency, Noel. Sorry about that. No, I was looking down and I saw 10:30, but it really said 10. So sorry about that.
No problem. Good morning, Chairman and Supervisors of the Board. Noelle Tomlinson, Planner, Kings County Community Development Agency, here with a quick overview of the sixth cycle housing element update and fair housing analysis before introducing our consultant for the draft presentation. I do want to mention that we have a Spanish interpreter here for the public hearing portion, and translation services with headsets are available just outside the doors. And I believe he has a transmitter and he's listening and interpreting. The housing element is a portion of the Kings County General Plan and is required to be updated in 8-year cycles. The sixth cycle update is for the 2024-2032 planning period. The housing element addresses the county's housing-related policies and development, prioritizing the expansion of housing opportunities and accommodating the housing needs of all economic levels. Kings County collaborates with the cities of Avenel, Corcoran, Hanford, and Lemoore to create a multi-jurisdictional document that will be consistent throughout the entire Kings County region. Realty Planners Group is the consulting firm that was hired to develop the housing element update and fair housing analysis. The Kings County Community Development Agency has provided staff support and administrative role for the 5 jurisdictions. Prior to board final adoption, the sixth cycle housing element update must be reviewed and certified by the California Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD. Today, we will conduct a public hearing to accept public comment on the draft, and the board will consider authorizing submittal of the draft to HCD. HCD's first review can take up to 90 days, and any subsequent reviews may take up to 60 days. The draft will be taken to each jurisdiction's planning commission for a recommendation on adoption, and the CDA intends to bring the certified housing element and fair housing analysis to your board for final adoption within the first half of 2025. And it is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Isaac George of Realty Planners Group to present the housing element draft and fair housing analysis.
Thank you. Mr. Isaac George, welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you. I'll use this lectern so I can see my PowerPoint better.
All yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, city staff, members of the public. I'm Isaac George. I'm the CEO of Realty Planners Group. We are a planning and housing consulting company. Personally, I've worked as a city planner, planning director, building director with many cities for the last 30 plus years, and created my own company to assist many cities today. And currently we are preparing about 8 general plan housing elements for different jurisdictions, along with fair housing analysis. Noel, the planner from the county, has provided you an introduction of what this is. So I would like to go into the PowerPoint, especially with regards to the findings of what we have done. At the workshop about a year ago when we met here, we discussed about the statistics of the community. In terms of the housing element, the primary aspect is to allocate or facilitate housing for the region as a whole. They call it RHNA, Regional Housing Needs Allocation, which is a number that is created by the Council of Boards or Association of Governments, or in that absence, the state itself comes up with these numbers. So these numbers are given, and they are created based on certain statistic that the state has followed, especially with regards to demographic changes, decadal demographic changes, housing unit construction, migration, in-migration, out-migration. So then they come up with a need that is projected for the next cycle, which is currently the 6th cycle, a 8-year period. So for the unincorporated area, we have to build, or not build, I would correct that myself. We have to facilitate for the construction of 561 housing units, which should be for all income groups. And that's a key word in the housing element, construction of housing for all income groups, which is extremely low, very low, low, moderate, and above moderate based on income criteria. So when we talk about facilitation, what does that mean? It means that if I'm a developer and if I come before you with a plan to have an affordable housing project, you should have sufficient property that is required and zoned for the construction of that particular housing project, any income group project. So that is facilitation primarily. So for that, we look at the housing inventory as to what is available and in what zones, how many acres are available. And in each zone, what would be the distribution of these 561 housing units based on socioeconomic characteristics that the state has predominant interest in, especially in the allocation of resources and housing in certain jurisdictions based on need. So that's exactly what housing elements are doing in terms of preparing and coming up with housing programs. And the state reviews those and gives us recommendations to make minor adjustments to make sure that we comply with all state laws. Next slide, please. With regards to fair housing, in the past, in the previous cycles, we used to have few paragraphs about fair housing, some data analysis, but from this sixth cycle onwards, the state has been asking us to prepare a special study of fair housing. Some are incorporated as part of the housing element itself, and some are incorporated as an appendix or an exhibit to the housing element, but it is part of the housing element. The state and the feds requires us to have outreach, and the workshop that we conducted at that time was an outreach, and we haven't received personal testimonies at the meeting, but we have conducted a survey and many people have responded to those surveys, and we have codified that survey in our housing element. We also looked at key background information, fair housing enforcement and outreach capacity in the county, integration and segregation patterns and trends within our community, disparities in access to opportunity, etc. The following slides I will quickly go through. This is a large slide with a lot of supporting mapping. We will not go through those, each and every one of them to be brief, but we will look at the major results. Next slide. With regards to the timeline, Noel has already mentioned that we plan to have this adopted somewhere in the middle of 2025. And that is in consideration of the comment process and review process that goes on with the state. Once we submit this draft, they will send us a formal set of comments and we will respond to it. And then again, they would probably comment us asking for additional analysis or additional programming. And that's a process that can go several months. And so we conservatively figured out that yes, we should be able to have a certified housing element by the middle of 2025. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I wouldn't want to go through the major statistic, but generally speaking, ours is predominantly slightly more than half Hispanic population. And the other population, the white population is roughly about 50%. So it's like a mix of white population, about 50, and the Hispanic or Latino population, 50.7%. The median household income as a whole is about $61,566, which is less than the median for the state. Median is the middle number, not an average. We do have some poverty. It's about 11.2%, but that is considerably less than many communities which have 30 to 40% of poverty. Next slide, please. These are the key findings that I would like to provide. With regards to diversity, as we have mentioned, we have a split between 50.7% Latino population and the remaining as white population. Next slide, please. This is a graphic depiction of how dispersed that community is. You have had these PowerPoints provided to you, and I'm sure that you have had the opportunity to review these. Next slide, please. Another index that we have calculated is the Gini index. The Gini index basically talks about income disparity. So in one word, if we were to say, is there a income disparity and how does it compare with the state? Our disparity index is 0.408. And how does that compare with the state average? The state has a bigger disparity of 0.468. So in short, we are better than the state average. Next slide, please. Again, this is a graphic depiction of the same data. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Here we have looked at the different census tract information and also adjacent cities, and we provide the same information in the same format with all the other cities participating with us in this multi-jurisdictional effort. Next slide, please. Dissimilarity index is the third set of data that we have analyzed. So with regards to the county, there is high segregation and poverty around the city of Avenal in that area that we look at. And the question is, when you have high segregation and poverty, what's the state's intent? So they look at these matters specifically and recommend us to come up with certain programs. So initially, as is provided in the draft, we do have certain programs that we are recommending, but they might come back and say, how about considering this or adding a different type of program that some other city may have adopted? And we look at that and we will incorporate that and we'll bring it back when you finally adopt this document. Next slide, please. This is again a graphic representation of the data that we have talked about. Next slide, please. The key component here is whether or not our community is racially and ethnically concentrated with areas of poverty. In Kings County, there does not appear to be the existence of what is called high white segregation. And all these terminologies are new in the preparation of the housing elements because of the new laws that has been imposed on us, especially looking at all these segregation patterns and race and ethnicity and things like that. When we talk about to qualify for determining a community to be racially or ethnically concentrated, there is a certain numbers that you must meet. Say, for example, outside the metropolitan areas where the non-white populations are likely to be much smaller, therefore they have set a threshold of a 20% number in order to qualify to say, yeah, there is high white segregation in a community. So by that standard, if you really go by, Kings County does not appear to have the existence of high white segregation. That is not to say that there is a certain concentration or geographic area where white people live. I mean, that happens in every jurisdiction, and that is not the issue that is discussed here. But in the second set of issues, which is called racially concentrated areas of affluence, there again, there is a preset conditions that you need to have 80% white population within a subset of the region, and they should have a median income of above $125,000. Next slide, please. So when we discuss that, we have found out that there is in the northeast portion of the county, there is one area which can be considered as an RCAA. It is a finding that we have to report to the state, but it will reflect in the programming that we will bring about. So the question is, well, yeah, is it necessarily bad to have ethnic disparities in certain communities? People tend to be living in an area because of very many reasons. Say, for example, if I want to have a large acre property a larger house, I'm not really looking at who lives there. I'm just simply looking at my economics and my comfort. So if the key here is that these are people in that area who have a household median of more than 125,000 people. So they are essentially wealthy people. So it's more a reflection of a class analysis more than an ethnic analysis. Say, for example, if you take a city 100% Latino, you will also find that they also have groupings of people living in wealthy areas, paying for extremely expensive property. If you go to, let's say, for example, if you go to Mexico, Mexico is a Hispanic community majority. There also they have people living in exclusively wealthy communities, maybe on the beach, maybe on the hillsides. So some of it are reflected in terms of personal preferences, families, and not necessarily always ethnicity. Because in my opinion, it is difficult for us to nowadays think that, oh, there is some people like me and therefore I want to be there. It is much less a reason for me than to say I want to keep my class identity. Right? If I want to live in Beverly Hills, I'll buy a house there and spend the money. Whether somebody lives the next door neighbor, I don't really care who the next door neighbor is. But these are statistics that we have to present and figure out some programs to avoid purposeful differences. We are not talking about ghettoization in this era where a county or a city purposely decides to push one ethnic group to one area as opposed to the other. But it cannot be purposeful. But even if it is not purposeful, by virtue of being in their state of living, if somebody has to live in a poor neighborhood, the state has an overwhelming interest in finding out what else we as a community together can do to ameliorate their hardships. So we come out with Section 8 programs. We come out with other assistance in building low-cost housing. So that's the social engineering part of what comes into planning. Next slide, please. Again, this is a depiction of the same data that we talked about. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. This again gives us the same data for the different cities in relationship to the county. Next slide. This one is called disparities to access to opportunities and how that vary. So basically, the Housing and Community Development Department and the TCAC, which stands for the Tax Credit Allocation Committee that gives monies for building low-income housing. This is competitive, but counties can sponsor a developer who want to put an application for it. They came up with certain indices. Most of what we have seen in terms of the statistics is created by the state, not us. And we are just extrapolating that and explaining what this means to us. So when you talk about disparities, it's about infrastructure, it's about good schools, it's about good parks and recreation facilities. So whether or not these are dispersed overall within the jurisdiction, or is it available only to some groups or the other? So in terms of opportunities, we in the county has what is called moderate to high levels of opportunity across the board in the county. And these are scored based on a certain index, and we have provided that in the housing element. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. With regards to disproportionate housing needs, so the question is, the crux of it is, all these things that we talked about, does it create disproportionate housing needs? Yes, in every community, depending on the number of disabled, depending on the people who are in poverty, depending on single female households, depending on more children per family, whether there is overcrowding or not. These are all special groups that are affected by the housing crisis. So we provide the statistics as it is. Say, for example, county-wide, almost 1/4 of owner households where in the lower income category, that is the 80% or less than the average median income, extremely low, very low, and low incomes, while over 55% of renter households were in the lower income category. So this kind of tells us that there are people who need certain types of help through the housing element and the programs that we will design. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Next. 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 So as related to item number 7, the question comes, would there be a potential for displacement of people? When could that happen? If a lower income housing complex is going out of its 55-year deed restriction, it is possible that the owner, the developer, might convert that housing into a market rate housing. So if that happens, then there is potential displacement. And that's what we are talking about here. And typically to address these, we will add programs in the housing element to mitigate that effect, what we can do. Say, for example, one of the mitigation measures that is added as a program is to inform the developer, inform the city or the county prior to a certain closing date. If they decide to become market rate, that they give us the notice, and the city can then work with them to see what they can do. Especially the housing authorities will be interested in that situation or the scenario, and not a small city because of the lack of means to deal with that situation. We'll work with the developers to see whether they can extend by negotiating that to a further term, or if the housing authority can probably take over that project and continue to keep the same rent restrictions, then that also is a possibility that would be looked at. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next. Now we come to site inventory. With all these, as we have mentioned in the very beginning, we look at the vacant site inventory, and we prove that we have sufficient lands that are zoned, and we prove that we do not necessarily need any zoning amendments immediately to take care of these problems, or in some cases, if that is needed, it is done. And we present this plan to the state, and they verify all these numbers. And sometimes what they have asked staff to do is to reallocate certain parcels for certain types of development. Say, for example, in this area that we have a large white minority grouping, although that area may be small, the state might come back and say, how about finding some property in this area where you could have a moderate income to low income. I mean, in the low income sector, you have different categories, but generally speaking, some affordable component to make it more diverse so that it is not segregated. So they will come back and say, what programs can you do? So then we have to come up with some kind of a program to appease them. I mean, the question is, ultimately, who approves this document? It is the state. So the language that you want to finagle is in conversation with the state officials, and we really don't have a choice, ultimately working with many other cities, that we don't want to do this. I mean, such a thing is not in the vocabulary. And in that case, what the state can do is not certify the housing element as consistent with state law. It's not arbitrary or capricious, but it's in relation to a certain state law. So far, we look all right with regards to our site inventory. And in your report, you have a complete inventory of all of that. So I do not want to belabor too much at this level. And we skipped many of the maps and things like that since you already had it. But I've explained this much so for the benefit of the public who are hearing us, who may not have read the whole staff report. So with this, I conclude the presentation of my report. And if you have any questions at this time, I'll be glad to answer that.
Thank you. Any question or comments from the board?
Yeah.
Supervisor Robinson.
So what do you do in like a homogeneous society? For example, Hilmar, right? Hilmar is predominantly Portuguese people. My wife's graduating class had over 90% Portuguese. They congregated there because they all spoke the same language and they helped each other to get jobs. In those days, it was in the dairy industry. The state would look at that as a negative, but it was a real positive for that population. So how would the state address that?
I don't think the state is really looking at whether communities are homogeneous or not. Say, for example, if I've just had the hearing yesterday in Avenal. Avenal is a majority Hispanic community. So what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. Some other communities may be majority white. So what's wrong with that? Whether it is white or Hispanic, aside from the racial aspect of it, the crux of it is how people, what are the needs of diverse sections of the people? Not necessarily by race. It is by disability, it is household incomes with greater children. So if you come to that question, the state would say, I said, what can you propose us in the next housing plan in order to provide more number of units in this housing? Okay, so then I would say, yes, we will require the developers to have at least 20% of the next housing complex to have 3-bedroom units. So if you have a larger family, then that solves the problem. So it solves what problem is being solved? We are solving the overcrowding problem. So if we have disability, then we need to have programs that address disability as an issue. Not necessarily because some communities are homogeneous or not. That is not something that is to be discussed.
So in regards to then say socioeconomics.
Yes.
If we're looking at say Northeast Hanford, you said, so it was a little bit more of an affluent, a little bit more. So would they put something that was a little bit lower income next to something that was higher income? Because most people's number one asset is their home, and that could greatly diminish the worth of their home.
You know, if you really look at the recent legislation that have come out, especially on the accessory dwelling unit legislation, that kind of breaks down that barrier. Say, for example, if I have an accessory dwelling unit, I have two options. I can rent it to a relative of mine. I can rent it to someone who is from a lower income group as a matter of principle. If the county wants, we can say, yeah, we will give you some incentive to build an ADU if you can dedicate that for a certain number of years to a lower income group. Now, if you look at my personal living condition, I don't mind having an ADU, but I definitely do not want an ADU to be rented to someone who I do not know. That is for fear of the safety of my family, my children, and my wife or my spouse, people like that, right? So it is a personal choice as to what you want to do. But at the same time, it provides the opportunity to be able to have the homeowner decide whether or not they want to rent an ADU to a lower income person, or at least some other family who will be able to live with a lower means. Because ADU by definition is not going to gather $5,000 rent. It's probably in the thousands to $2,000 of rent, depending on the location. Where I live in San Diego, properties are more expensive. So therefore, the rent also is expensive. But in small counties and cities, the rent is not that expensive compared to metropolitan towns. So that is one benefit of that legislation. So the state can come back and say, yes, you need to consider some proactive programs in order to make it more diverse. And that's a matter of fact.
So in short, they're mitigating it. They're not putting extremes together.
Yeah, they are trying to mitigate to, I mean, homogeneity or diversity. You can talk about it all day, but how do you make it without reference to raciality is the question. Because we are not saying, yeah, we want to remove people from this neighborhood or add people to this neighborhood. That's not the question. The question is, what are their issues? What can we do to make our community more homogeneous through very many housing programs? That's the crux of it. I mean, even if we take this community where there is white domination, there are probably people who are barely making a life out there. You see, just because I look who I am doesn't mean that all the people who look like me live like me. So everywhere, regardless of the racial aspect, people do suffer based on their circumstances. And that may be through disability, that may be through poverty, that may be through psychiatric issues, and many other issues. Maybe somebody got divorced and they just split everything apart and they are in misery. So that has nothing to do with race. It is just a personal, economic, socioeconomic situation. But the state has an overwhelming goal and desire to make our communities more homogeneous, or I would say more diverse. That's the right terminology to say. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments? This is a public hearing. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing and take in any comments from the public or anybody have written.
I have not received any written correspondence and I have not received any speaker cards.
And is anybody online?
Correct.
Is anybody in the audience like to add to this today? Have a comment?
I may add before you close the public hearing. In some of the jurisdictions that I've been working, I've been recommending a proactive measure for the city or the county that we lobby with the state through our county associations or the city associations like the League of Cities or the County League to put in a amendment to allow to bring back the tax increment financing to counties and cities in order to allow for the construction of low-income housing, affordable housing. So with this, what the state is asking us or imposing on us, the cities and counties in general, is to have programs. But cities and counties do not have the resources to be able to build this unless you get a tax credit project or some other means. Honestly, cities and counties don't have the money to do these. So at least if we can bring back redevelopment through tax increment only to address affordable housing, then we should be able to lobby that. And I've added that as a program in some of the cities, and they said that's fine. And I also discussed that with the state, whether they would feel uncomfortable about it. No, it's not. It's an independent consultant's honest opinion that tax increment financing probably should come back to cities and counties so that they are better equipped to be able to provide what the states wants us to do. And so if you don't mind, I'd be glad to put that as one of the conditions at the next update. So you have to call your congressmen and senators and say, why don't you do something like that for us?
Okay. Okay, you're on the record.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. Anybody else have a comment? Like to add to this? Nothing? Okay, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board.
Thank you.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley is absent. Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson. Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, 5 in favor. Okay, we'll go on now to board member announcements and reports. You want to go first? Supervisor Robinson.
Let's see.
It goes like that.
Oh, thank you.
Get on here.
This guy.
Man.
Last Wednesday through Friday, attended a tour with Supervisor Verboon and Chuck Kenny. I went to Big Creek, which is by Shaver Lake. So thank you to Southern California Edison. It was quite a tour. They call it some of the hardest working water in California. It's over 100 years old and it still generates over 1,000 megawatts. The water, I guess, travels down through several of the power plants. And so it continues to be used and generate power at several points. In addition, we received a presentation from a biologist who was pretty fascinating. And what he did is he showed a couple of photos. In this case, it was of Yosemite. And he was showing one that had, well, more trees were evident and another one where there were less trees. And then he asked us, well, which one's a healthier environment? And the answer is the one with the less trees. And the reason there was because, and the photo was taken from 100 years ago. And the reason there was because the actual environment was more conducive to a lot of the animals and the biology of the region. But it also had a number of other benefits, which would be fire mitigation and things of that nature, because when you thin out the trees, you have meadows and so forth, but it also creates natural fire breaks. So then they took us on the lake and they showed us the fire that had been approaching, and two different lands handled two different ways. And the one that was handled the way that he's describing, which is when they had some prescribed burning and they selected some trees to be taken out, really didn't burn much, or at least to the degree or the level of the other one. So anyway, I think it's something we can all learn from. I certainly did, and I'm grateful for the tour. Saturday, attended the Santa Rosa Rancherias, their annual powwow with Supervisor Neves and Supervisor Verboon. So I thank you to the Palace and Chairman Cisco for bringing us. As usual, they have wonderful, elaborate costumes, and they do a great job of celebrating their culture. So I'm glad to be included in that, and I was able to bring my son with me. So thanks again. Monday, just budget hearings with supervisors.
Thank you. Supervisor Fagundes? I'm good. Supervisor Neves?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the 22nd, Chief Flores went ahead and chauffeured us over to attend the Westlands Arroyo Pasajero groundwater recharge project. I've been part of that project for 48 years when I was in community college and talked about that location. It's a very unique location, and Mr. Hubbard, who was the soil scientist and geography teacher at West Hills at that time, talked about this because the bedrock of the coastal mountains actually connect to the topsoil of the valley. And that's the whole soil profile is about 200 to 220 foot deep of nothing but sand. And so that has the potential of being some of the best recharge regions in the San Joaquin Valley. That project right now will handle about 30 cubic feet per second that predominantly will come out of the Kalinga Canal that provides drinking water to the community of Kalinga, and also has the possibility of taking water out of the Arroyo Pasajero. The problem with the Arroyo Pasajero is it doesn't run every year. There's sometimes decades where it doesn't run. But when it runs hot and heavy. But if that water could be stored upstream and distributed at a more rechargeable rate, there's certainly a lot of potential there. That site already has a potential to sink about 21,000 acre feet per year through the conventional systems that exist today. And phase 2 will introduce 10 dry wells that will allow water to go directly into those lower aquifers and not take the time to percolate through that whole 220 feet of sand filters in a natural environment. So the neat project. I want to thank Chief Flores. He took us to Harris Ranch and made us eat a hamburger, but it was very good hamburger. So I certainly want to thank him for that and thank him for escorting us into Fresno County. Lemoore High School also kicked off the home football games against Monache, games on Thursday as well as on Friday. Santa Rosa Rancheria, the gathering of the tribes is one of those natural Native American cultures that have gone on for who knows how many years. A lot of that history is not even recorded, but that you were able to see some of the traditions that go back literally indefinite. You just don't know when those traditions started. They have gone on that long. The Lemoore Brew Fest took place on the 24th. Breweries, food, and music on a very pleasant evening in Lemoore, and I certainly want to thank that group. And I was serving some adult beverages, but since I was doing that, I couldn't partake. So my wife appreciated that part of it.
You didn't test them?
No, I didn't. And then yesterday, the Behavioral Health Board unfortunately could not reach quorum, but we did discuss a couple of items. Some of them will be coming to this board while the suicide prevention came today, but in the near future, you're going to see some bylaw changes That committee currently stands at 13. It would be easier for us to make quorum if we were at 10. And that's going to be one of the bylaw changes, as well as the way that committee is put together. So when you get a chance, if you have any questions, we can talk about it, but that will be on the agenda in a couple of weeks. So with that, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. On now to upcoming events. Gary Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the board received correspondence from the Central Kings Groundwater Sustainability Agency dated August 15th regarding notice of intent to amend the groundwater plan. The board received an invitation to celebrate Donna Jacinto's retirement on Thursday, August 29th. And the board also received a Lemoore Cemetery District budget dated for August 20th. For upcoming events, Behavioral Health will host its Veteran Support Group tonight, August 27th from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Veterans Memorial Hall in Hanford. King County Department of Public Health will host its next employee blood drive September 5th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the old sheriff parking lot. You can register online or walk-ins are welcome. I believe they're giving away gift cards now, so there's a nice incentive there. The Kings County Sheriff Posse will host its annual dinner, dance, and crab feast September 7th at Burris Park. Tickets are $150 per person and includes all you can eat. You must be 21 and older to attend. Kings County Commission on Aging will host its Senior Day on Friday, September 20th at Burris Park. There will be breakfast burritos. For upcoming agenda items, we do not have a board meeting next week due to Labor Day, but September 10th, we do have a big agenda coming. We have administration has an item for Employee of the Quarter. Behavioral Health has 2 items on some agreements. CDA has an item in considering approval property owner farmland security zone contract and some monthly reporting on planning commission actions. Finance has property tax rate information and the railroad property tax rate. Fire has 1 item on National Preparedness Month proclamation, and Health has an agreement on some disclosure agreements with Disease Information Exchange System. Human Resources has an item on the Probation Officer Association MOU. And Public Works has 4 items in regards to some county road projects and some seal projects. And that's all for my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You also might add September 18th is going to be the picnic at Human Services. And so that's usually a nice event. And I think Wendy sent out the save the date, but I think you can start probably promoting that because it's only just a few weeks away.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go now to closed session and we'll discuss items as outlined and then we'll adjourn. Our next meeting on Tuesday, September 3rd has been canceled due to the holiday and we'll be back here on September 10th. And Supervisor Robinson, you will be in charge. I will be out of town. And I'll see you on the 17th. You guys can vote me in for all kinds of committees.
Or vote you out.
Yeah, vote me out. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you for coming.